Today, I'd like to welcome a good relative to this land, the land of the Multnomah Band of Chinook people, to share with us his legacy of being a good relative, and to ask each of you today to reflect on how you are being a good relative so that we can survive this historical time. Please welcome Dr. Cornel West to the stage. Thank you.
Oh, what a blessing to be here. This is Portland, Oregon. Oh, yes. Oh, you bless me. You bless me. You bless me. Oh, there is a sweet spirit in this place. A magnificent spirit. A marvelous, marvelous spirit. My God. Well, I must say that all of the artists, the comic artists, the musicians, the hip-hop artists, the DJ and others, oh, they remind me of my tradition that says the Spirit will not descend without song, without sound, and without soulfulness. Soul ain't nothing but the sharing of a soothing sweetness against the backdrop of grim catastrophe. And that's what we are wrestling with, grim catastrophes, which means we need sweetness, we need majesty, we need courage, we need solidarity. That's what I've come to talk about. I want to begin by saluting the visionary leaders of my own campaign. And my campaign ain't nothing but a moment in a movement. It ain't nothing but a wave in an ocean. This is not about individuals. This is not about me. We're talking about trying to constitute some kind of solidarity that can stay in motion so that we can straighten our backs up and be of service to brothers and sisters no matter what color, or gender, or sexual orientation, or national identity who are suffering, those wretched of the earth that the great Frantz Fanon talked about, or in the language of the great Malcolm X, those who are catching hell, wherever and whoever they are. So where's my dear sister Madeline? There she is. There she is. Give it to Sister Madeline. She's from here in Portland. One of the visionary campaign managers. I got 4 campaign managers. Because I'm a blues man and we got a jazz campaign, so it's a quartet, you see. It's true. Did Brother Anthony make it here yet? He's on the way. Give it up for Anthony in absentia. Give it up for Sister Kiana in absentia. Give it up for Brother Edwin in absentia. Never been a campaign running to head the American empire in order to dismantle the empire. Which is to say what? Which is to say it's just a matter of trying to be true to all of the love, courage, integrity poured into me by those who came before. Because I come from a great black people. Oh, yes. A great people who in the face of 400 chronically targeted years of hatred just keep dishing out love warriors every generation. Just when you thought you crushed black folk. No, here comes Frederick Douglass. Here comes Harriet Tubman. There goes Sojourner Truth. And we even have not got to Ida B. Wells Barnett yet. And this is true for each and every one of you. You come from various families, communities, mosques, synagogues, temples, churches, nightclubs, networks to shape and molded you. We are who we are because somebody loved us. Somebody targeted us. Somebody zeroed in on us in such a way that we could believe in ourselves and deal with whatever form of catastrophe is coming our way. And for me, the highest standards have always been set. Exactly. Yes, the precious children. Lord have mercy. The precious children. I think of the precious children in Gaza. Oh, let us never apologize for our love, our concern, our care for precious children in the midst of genocidal attack and assault. No apologies whatsoever. We shall forever be in solidarity, straightening our backs up in the name of something bigger than ourselves. And it's not tribal, it's morality. It's not tribal, it's spirituality. It has to do with a love for the children and the women and the men here in Portland, Oregon. Oh, yes. Don't let anybody call you a name and act as if somehow you are the one who are downplaying morality and spirituality. I say the same thing about any child. I would say the same thing about the Armenians in Turkey. I'd say the same thing about Jews in Germany. I'd say the same thing about Tutsis in Africa. I'd say the same thing about anybody catching hell. That's my tradition. That's my tradition. Yes. I also come from a people who've been terrorized for 400 years. See, so police murder and brutality is just an extension of the slave block and the slave whip. And in the face of that kind of terror, you get folk calling for freedom for everybody. Everybody. See, that's a counter-terroristic move against the terror. And so often the discourse is overlook the terror and view the counterterrorism as somehow the focus. No, it's the context you start with and then zero in on what the response is. Freedom for everybody, but beginning with one's own mama, daddy, aunt, uncle, cousins, group, and then allow it to spill over for everybody. And why do I say that? Very important. Because one of the ways in which oppressed peoples have been socialized under oppressive conditions is to love everybody but their own people. That's the ticket for success. Highlighting everybody else's situation and can't say a mumbling word about your own. Because if you talk about your own, you're going to touch sources of anger and rage and indignation, and that's the very thing that threatens the status quo. That's the very thing that upsets them. And then when we come together in solidarity with the overlap of that kind of rage and righteous indignation with an analysis of empire, an analysis of predatory capitalist processes, an analysis of male supremacy, an analysis of homophobia and transphobia, an analysis of anything that stands in the way of the flourishing and the flowering of precious human beings just like yourselves and your children and your parents. Oh, then you got something going on. Yes, that's revolutionary spirit. And that's my tradition. See, I come out of the West household. I wish you could have met my mother, Irene. Oh, I'll never be 1/3 of the human being she was. Just lost her 2 years ago. Every day I want to put a smile on her face in the grave. Why? She set the standard: integrity, honesty, decency, courage, generosity, treating everybody right with a smile and a grin and a hug. Yes, she was in love with Jesus, and I know people got critiques of theology and God and religion. I understand that. Go on and do your thing. But I'm talking about where I come from. Everybody come from somewhere. And the question is, will you be true enough to yourself to push aside the ugly aspects of our tradition? Every tradition has something ugly about it, because every tradition can suffocate. But if you read your traditions right, it can also liberate and emancipate. Whatever the tradition is, secular, religious, or whatever. But the proof is in the pudding. It's in the deeds. It's in the action. It's in the sacrifice. It's in the service. It's in the willingness to give it all, to empty yourself, to sacrifice yourself. And so for me, when I think of my campaign, you can see I don't begin with policy initially. No, not at all. No, not at all. I begin with situating myself in the tradition of love warriors and freedom fighters, and in the face of trauma, wounded healers rather than wounded hurters. In the face of overwhelming sorrow and sadness, like Louis Armstrong, I want to spread some joy. I want to be a joy spreader and a joy share in the name of solidarity of oppressed people. That's what we're talking about. And that's the kind of moral achievement. It takes spiritual discipline to do that kind of thing. So you begin with where you come from. I see Brother Jonathan there. Oh, there's my dear brother. He's the father of Madeline. Give it up for Brother Jonathan. Oh, we love this brother. Oh, we love him. Straight out of Sacramento. His brother was in my high school class, the Marist, and his father was one of the professors at Sacramento City College, where I would go, and he would give these magnificent lectures on Sartre and Camus and Dostoevsky. I said, yeah. But you have to fortify yourself. And that's your story. That's not my story. You see. But it's a story that allows for our overlap if we get deep enough and connect on the human level. That's what the status quo is afraid of. No, we know the rot of our political system, the legalized bribery and normalized corruption of our two-party system is afraid. They're scared of the truth because their projects are predicated on the efficacy of lies. And those lies hide crimes, Imperial crimes abroad, drones dropped on innocent folk. Nobody says a mumbling word. 500,000 killed in Iraq. Nobody hardly says a mumbling word, as if an Iraqi baby doesn't have the same status as a baby in Portland. I'm here to say all babies have the same value and significance, and I'll say it until the day I die. That's who I am. That's where I come from. It's not about popularity, no superficial sense. That's how we roll. That's how we going down. That's how we fight. That's how we love. That's how we sing. That's how we organize. It's true. That's who we are. At our best. At our best. And so when I talk about the abolition of poverty, I'm an abolitionist. I don't want to see one brother, sister, or sibling homeless or unhoused in Portland, Chicago, New York, Los Angeles, any other place. We got war priorities. We got billions for war, billions for the military-industrial complex, billions for the elite at the top, corporate welfare subsidizing and taxes, but when it comes to those Sly Stone called everyday people, when it comes to those James Cleveland called ordinary people, my people of all colors but those catching hell, all of a sudden we have austerity dispositions. We got a tax budget. We've got to make sure it's balanced. What about education? Well, we don't. Healthcare free? No. Housing with the land grabs and the power grabs, they call it gentrification, but it ain't nothing but land grabs and power grabs. In some ways, the history of the whole country. I come from California. It used to be Mexico. Land grab, power grab, Mexican War. 13 states to 48 states. Manifest destiny. Please quit lying. Quit lying. Imperial expansion. We need persons in every context, and I'm just one extension of you, just as you are an extension of me, to raise our voices and tell the truth. That's all. We got to just tell the truth. And the condition of truth is to allow suffering to speak of those who are catching hell. That's true in our individual lives. If you think you understand something about yourself and you're not coming to terms with the wounds and bruises and scars within your own soul, then you lying to yourself. Well, that's true for empires too. That's true for nations too. And the problem with the United States at our worst is always that we viewed ourselves as so innocent, even as we have been authorizers of devastation to our precious indigenous brothers and sisters. How are you going to call yourself innocent, enacting genocidal attacks and assaults in the name of what? Liberty. Please, please, we need at this particular moment, when we have a choice between a neo-fascist Pied Piper with Trump, who's trying to convince more and more fellow citizens the only alternative to a rotting neoliberal rule of a corrupt Democratic Party is fascism. And more people are giving up, pushing back, and rejecting the Democratic Party because they know that it's beyond redemption when it comes to satisfying the needs of poor and working people and when it comes to dealing with the militarism abroad that they promote. And that's why they're scared. That's why they're running scared. What they told us the second week I announced, Brother West is the biggest threat to American democracy since almost the Civil War. I said, wow. I was talking to Bootsy Collins on the phone. You know, I wrote 2 songs with Bootsy on his Funk Capital of the World album. I said, Bootsy, I didn't know I was so powerful. He said, Brother West, anytime everyday people straighten their backs up, they are more powerful than you think, because folk can't ride your back unless it's bent. That's what it is to be a funk master. That tell the truth, that shatter the deodorized, sanitized, sterilized discourse that stays at the superficial surfaces of a dying culture. No, we need the funk. We need the truth. Oh, yes, we need deep truth. But truth about ourselves, truth about others, the truth about the powers that be. This is not about self-righteousness. Just like it's not about hating anybody. It's about hating oppression, hating domination, hating subjugation, and then having resilience and resistance and being willing to come together, given all of our different ideological, political orientations. I work with my anarchist brothers and sisters, my communists, my socialists, all syndicalists, There are all kind of different names. I'm not into the isms. I want to know, do you have integrity, honesty, and decency? Are you willing to be able to organize in such a way that you constitute a countervailing force against the powers that be? That's the bottom line. That's what we're talking about. Oh, that's what we're talking about. And Portland understands that. Very much so. And I don't want to go on and on because we got Portugal, period. The man coming. I'm not going to stand in the way with my brothers and sisters because, I'm telling you, from Alaska. Now, Alaska is the first state to put me on the ballot. Isn't that something? Isn't that something? You got a Jesus-loving, free black man like me put on the ballot in Alaska as the first state in the American empire. Woo! That puts a smile on Richard Pryor's face, doesn't it? It's a beautiful thing. And I just signed today with the Progressive Party here in Oregon. We won't be able to follow through till June, but it's already on paper. Oregon's going to be the second state to put me on the ballot. Yes. Thank you, Progressive Party. Thank you, Oregon. Thank you, Portland. A free black man like me in primarily vanilla Oregon, but you got beautiful chocolate people too, but we in it all together. And I'll tell you something before we bring our magnificent musicians on. See, part of my tradition is at Shiloh Baptist Church on the chocolate side of Sacramento. There used to be a brother come in on the fifth Sunday named Sylvester. He would play the organ, and he just set the place on fire. He grew up in Vallejo, but he's known to the world for the genius that he is. His name is Sly Stone. Sylvester Stewart, Sly Stone. In fact, his autobiography was just published. Thank you for letting me be myself just a couple of weeks ago. But Sly taught us something about allies, and I take it very seriously. Because people come up to me and say, well, Brother West, what do you think about your white allies? I noticed that you're always unapologetic about being a black man, and how do you deal with building the bridges and the alliances of white allies? I said to myself, well, Sly and the Family Stone had a drummer named Greg. He was a white brother, wasn't he? And he had another brother on the horn named Jerry. He was a white brother. He didn't turn to Greg and Jerry and say, now we're going to hear some notes from our white allies. They in the mother hucking band. They chose to be in the band. Human beings, no matter what color, gender, sexual orientation, when you choose to be in the movement, when you choose to be in the band, you prove yourself week in and week out such that people can trust you. And it ain't a question of allies. It's a question of human beings choosing freedom and dignity and service to others. That's the key. That's crucial. Don't let nobody divide us. Don't let nobody pit us against one another. We in the same band of love and justice and equality and democracy, just like the musicians. Love you, Portland, Oregon. Let us hear Portugal, period. The man.